Hello again, back at you. So, this is going to be part 2. What I would want to do today is to try to get into the computational mindset, actually, through this exercise. And what I mean by a mindset is actually a way of doing things, a way of thinking about architecture that is very lean, to say the least, because it opens up multiple branches for exploration, for creativity, and also for serendipity. That's the word for not wanting to find something, but then finding it anyway, like a new thing that would maybe inspire a new trajectory of doing things. And I think in the last video we started actually already exploring how the Voronoi structures that make up this pavilion that you guys can see here, how it could be different, right? So for now, what we did is we created a platform on which we had some big columns that we call the trees, right? That looks like something like a crown shyness. And then we started like putting shade all over using these panels. And the thing is, these panels would stop the sun from getting in while still creating some nice sun zones, basically. So as I was writing the script, I got across this little component called random. Yep, so if you're going through the components that are here on these tabs, you could find random in sets, sequence, and then you find random. And next to random, you have also many other components that do really interesting stuff. But let's start by random. There is a cat inside a box, and basically this just picks a random number from a range, and you can change the seed, which is basically the level of randomness. And once you change the seed, look what happens here. I noticed that this component called random is giving me numbers, basically. So this is not what I would want to talk about right now. What I would want to talk about is how to integrate the random command to create a new iteration of this public pavilion, right? So let's assume that my randomness would be the level of each panel. Maybe I would want them random. Each one has its own random height. And also, let's say that I would want that the biggest branch, let's say column, would be 10 meters high, and the lower one would be, let's say, 4.5 meters high. And everything else, and this is the shortest one, and this is the longest one, and everything else has some values, some random values in between 4.5 and 10. Okay, so maybe what we'd want to do is to use this command. This command, random, it calls for inputs and outputs. In this case, the output is the random number. And for the inputs, we have a range, we have the number, and then we have the seed. So what is the number? The number means how many values you'd want to have. So for now, we have 1. We hover over, we can read 1. What if we make it 2? By the way, I'm using this panel here that we can find in parameters input, right? Panel. This one just reads whatever data that's in the component. You could do this by having a panel so it's more visual, or you could just hover over it. Nice. So right now, as I put 2, you can see that I have 2 completely random numbers. And also you could notice that as these numbers are always between 0 and 1. 0, I mean, I couldn't find anything larger than 1 and smaller than 0. So why? That's because actually we have a range that is already pre-installed in there, in this little component. So the range, if I put my cursor on it, is one locally defined value from 0 to 1. 0 to 1. So what if we want a range from 4 meter 5 to 10 meters? Maybe what I would want to do is to type something similar to 0 to 1. So how do I do that? Maybe if I write 0 to 10, I mean 4.5 to 10, no. Okay, so it doesn't work like this. I'm gonna copy this one. I'm gonna have to write it inside a panel. So this time I'm gonna use the panel to create a range. So this is the way we create a range. We state the minimal value and we type 2 and then space, and then we type the maximum value of that range. So this is the first way of doing things. Let me just connect it, right? Here you can see that all the values that I have right now are between 4.5 and 10. And I can change the seed, and you can see we have 9.4. It never exceeds 10, which is nice. So maybe if I am to integrate this component somewhere here inside the script that we made already, this would create random variations in my volumes. Random variations, higher, lower, etc. Okay, so let's do this. But before, I would want to tell you guys something. On the first video, we were working with very random values, right? Height of the structure, etc. So I'll just keep it this way. I'm just gonna start working not with real life values, but just with values that would look good, actually. I'm just gonna follow up this way. So the objective right now is to push this random component somewhere inside here. And we already know that what I would want to change actually is the height. So the height is actually the z direction, right? When we did the move the first time, once we created the first Voronoi, we transformed it into edges, and then we moved them upwards, right? So we moved them upwards by a height, which is 198. What if right now, instead of giving one height of a structure, we give multiple heights that are bound inside the range between 4.5 to 10. Let's do this. Matter of fact, as I have told you, I'm not going to use these values here. Let's just assume that 198 is the highest number and the lowest one is, let's assume it's 100. Well, let me do this. I have multiple heights and multiple surfaces. Matter of fact, I have 81 locally defined values, which are 81 surfaces. So this means I need 81 number, right? How did I know that I had 81 surfaces? Just put my cursor on 81. I'm gonna delete this number here. And now I have 81 values that I can use. So I'm using this panel here, as I have told you, just to showcase these numbers. We can leave it here. But also what I can do is to replace the height of the structure here. Wow, okay. So this is what happens. The heights got changed. And now, if I go over my script and activate the previews, I can see that these are going actually to follow the heights. So everything is parametric. This is what I mean when I say everything is parametric. Maybe if I notice that some of them are so low, maybe I could also change it to 140 and start actually visualizing how it should go. Great. So this happened by only adding this little component called random height values. Let's call it this way, so in order to seem more organized. And then I could go over changing between these two variations. So in matters of computational thinking, once we start understanding the functions of the components that are here that creates either noise or that stack maybe data, that reduce data, etc. Maybe we could start creating more interesting shapes. So let's do something. Let's make our script even more perfect. Let's assume right now that I have finished my script, right? And my clients or the contractor, from various reasons, would want to reduce the count of the trees from 81 to 20. This would happen, right? It would work. But look what happens here. I have many panels stacked one on top of the other, right? Why is this happening? Because actually, here we can say that the data is not matching. What do I mean by that? I mean that the surfaces that we have, which is 20, we just changed them, don't match the number of the z values, which is 81. So maybe to clear this up, we need to replace the 81 by 20. So let's do this. How many surfaces that I have? I put my cursor on, it's 20 surfaces, right? So in here, I would want to have 20. And it's fixed. Great. Now, in order to make it more parametric, I will use a new component called list length. Just follow me on this one. So I'm gonna click on Alt, do this along with me guys, click on Alt, and then right click and push so it could create some margin. Nice. And also take the surfaces and push them into the list. And now I'm gonna bring a panel. So basically, what this list length do is that it showcases the number of parts that I have inside a component. If I have 20, it would always push number 20. And so the good thing to do right now is to take the list length and replace the number slider here, so that the number is always actualizing, right? So even if I change it right now to 32 or whatever, we're gonna still have the same number that enters the random component. This we don't need anymore. Then we can start changing the seed also to make it prettier. Maybe I would want to change the radius. This is getting interesting. And also maybe change the offset. Or you know what? Maybe no offset. It's still doing well. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. If you've arrived until this phase, do not forget to push a like and the subscribe button. And also, as the usual, you will find the exercise files with the new random integration inside the. For those who are new to my channel, if you arrived until this phase, please go back and see the first part. That's going to be it for today, and maybe see you next time for a new integration that is not a random value this time. See you soon, guys. Cheers.